Hi, and welcome to the first episode of the Avonlea Chronicles. My name is Martha, and I'm the owner and designer behind Avonlea Knits. I live in a small town in Ontario, and I have been knitting for quite a few years. A little bit of my background: I grew up in a family of very crafty people. My grandma who lived with us, she knit, my mom knit, my nana knit, and I was taught when I was a child, being homeschooled, I wanted to learn how to knit, and my mom tried to teach me, but being left-handed, things did not click. And so I kind of left it, and when I went to university, I made a friend in one of my classes, and she started talking about knitting and crocheting, and that prompted me to get back into it. And here I am. I have been knitting for well over 10 years now, and I am even designing. So this is not a journey I ever thought that I was going to take, but here I am. And I wanted to share with you all of the things that I love and that I have been working on. I love watching knitting podcasts like The Grocery Girls, Cozy Up Knits. I just started watching Mark Vogel, and I wanted to do the same on my Instagram page, my personal account, martha.b.wood. I share every month what I'm working on, but I can only fit so much into 90 seconds. And so by doing a longer format podcast, I can talk more in depth about my projects. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit and talk about my first few designs. I never ever thought that I would be designing knitting patterns. I have a Ravelry library full of patterns and a Ravelry favorites page full of things that I want to knit. But in the winter of 2022, when a war started between two European countries, one of which my family is from, my great-grandparents came from Ukraine, I was grieving a little bit because I've never been to Ukraine, and I know that there are some things that I'm not going to be able to see, and I maybe never be able to go to Ukraine because of their political situation. And one night as I was trying to fall asleep, I can't explain it, but this idea for a pattern just came to my mind. Universe, God, whatever you believe in, just downloaded this pattern to me, and I could not stop thinking about it. And so I thought about it for a while and started to look at different colors of wool that would be right for the design. And when I finally got those colors, I knitted up. Now, this was the first pattern that ever came to me, but I ended up knitting it third, and because I couldn't find the right color. So I'll try and fit all of me and it in here. This is called the Sunflower Shawl. It's a top-down triangle shawl made with fingering weight yarn, and it mirrors that of the Ukrainian flag with the blue skies and yellow wheat fields. And the detail in the middle are some beautiful aster stitches. And so this was my first ever design that came to me. I love how simple it is with the beautiful little detailing of the aster stitches. It's a pretty mindless knit until you get to the aster stitches, which are pretty fun to work up. I'm also knitting this now in a lighter blue. I did not look at the yardage properly on the yarn that I ordered, And so I have run out of blue and I will run out of yellow, but I have some on order. This one is for a gift, and I went with a lighter blue and a lighter yellow. And it's actually going to be the perfect shades of blue and yellow for the person that I am giving this to. And so I can't wait to see how the aster stitches work up with these two colors. But it's really important that you look at your yardage. I ordered yarn and I just said, oh, I need 100 grams of blue and 100 grams of this yellow. I did not look at the yardage. I should have given the yardage first because I have run out. So this is on timeout now until I get more wool, but I will show it a little bit later when I get the other colors in and I finish it. My project bag is from Muskoka Yarn Connection. This is art by a local artist, and that's what I'm keeping my project in. But that was my first ever design that like came through to me. My second sort of design that came to me, but the first one that I knit up is called the Picnic in the Garden shawl. It's just a big rectangular wrap, and each of the sections have a little bit of patterning and detail to them. I did blue eyelets for like this, you know, looking at the blue sky through the trees, purple garter stitch for like a blanket. This green that's like all variegated has like beautiful flower stitches, and then the beige is like a basket weave type stitch for like a picnic basket. This is also super beautiful, fun to use different colors. Some of the ladies in my knitting group knit this with they stash busted, and actually one lady just bought the pattern, so I can't wait to see what hers looks like. But I really had wanted, I was given this green that I won from a knit along, and I wanted to do something with it because it was kind of on its own. It was kind of a little bit too much for me. The green is quite green and it was a little too much. So putting it with all of the other colors, which the other colors are Richard DeVries, and I think this green was Alwan Sultan fibers. Putting it with other colors really like toned it down. But this is a really lovely pattern, a really nice wrap. It's all fingering weight yarn. And this was the first design that I knit up, but it was the second one to kind of come to me. And then the third one to come to me, I was really desperate to knit this up, but I hadn't found the right blue and yellow yet. So I was thinking about what were other ways that I could try and test out knitting a triangle shawl with aster stitches. And one night as I was walking home from my parents' house, because we just live down the street from each other, this pattern came to me. My mom had this mini skein set of colors. It's purple, orange, blue, pink, and green, and they were in her knitting bag, and I kept looking at them like, oh, I could do something with that. And then one night this pattern idea came to me: do an asymmetrical triangle shawl and use the mini skeins to do stripes of aster stitches. And this wool is from Shellridge Yarns, mini skeins and the main color. And so I said to my mom, oh, you know, I have this idea for a design with using that mini skein set that you have. And she goes, well, you can have it. And I said, okay. So then we took the mini skein set to Shellridge Yarns, which at the time they had a brick and mortar store locally to us, and we're friends with the owner. And so we looked at the yarn that she had, and we found this main color called Flower Box, and it's just like super pastel colors, but it's got all of like the colors of the mini skeins in it. And so I got 2 skeins of that and knit this up. This was so much fun, and there's so many ways you could do it. You could alternate like all 5 colors and just stripe colors 1 through 5 as you work your way through the shawl. You could also stash bust. This is great. It's huge, and this is one of my favorite designs that I have made so far. So that's a little shawl parade of my designs. I have about 14 designs, and so as I do more podcasts, I will do another chunk of shawl parades and show you what I've designed. But those were my first 3 ever designs, and I just kind of fell in love with the designing process. But I don't just sit down and think like, oh, what am I going to design next? The ideas come to me. Like I said, I can't explain it. My one friend who sort of got me back into knitting says, like, Martha, you have a gift from God. Like, I really can't explain it. The ideas just come to me. So those were my first 3 designs, and I knit them all in the summer of 2022. And at the end of summer, I went to Germany for a work trip at the church, and I thought to myself, if those are the only 3 designs I have, I'll put them on Ravelry and that'll be it. But while I was in Germany, I had ideas for 2 more projects, which I will show in the next podcast. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's not like a dud thing and I can keep designing. And here I am. It's now 2 years later, and I have so many ideas. Most of the time, my inspiration comes from my love of Anne of Green Gables. You see, I have a picture of Anne right here. This picture actually came from the school that I work at. One day I went into school and I was working, and the vice principal saw me and he said, oh, there's something for you in the office. And I said, okay. And so I go and I see beside the bucket of keys for supply teachers, because I supply teach, there was this picture of Anne of Green Gables, and I was like, oh, that's for me. I know that's for me. So yeah, I keep Anne right there. I love Anne of Green Gables. I also, to my left, I have, maybe I can show a little bit of it. This is my Anne of Green Gables bookshelf where I have all my Anne books. So I take a lot of my inspiration from Anne and the writings of Lucy Maud Montgomery. I also have a Lucy Maud Montgomery museum local to me in Bala, Ontario. And so I'm hoping to go there sometime for a photo shoot of some of my designs. But yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from Anne of Green Gables. I also take inspiration from the world around me, my Ukrainian heritage, and sometimes I'm also just inspired by the color of yarn that I see, and I think, oh, like there's a design idea that I have when I see a certain color of yarn. One of the yarns that I have, I'm looking at it, but I didn't pull it out, is called Mrs. Potts, and it was dyed up after Angela Lansbury passed away, who was the voice of Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast. And I thought, oh, like I could make a shawl that I think that Mrs. Potts would wear, so I'm going to design that soon. But yeah, one of my current designs is the Idlewild shawl. This is a rectangular shawl on the bias, and I'm so close to finishing. But this beautiful pinky variegated color was dyed by Tangled Poets, also local to me in Ontario. And then the 3 solid colors were dyed by Shellridge Yarns, and this pinky color by Tangled Poets was part of their PEI collection, inspired by Lucy Maud Montgomery, and this colorway is called Tomorrow is Always Fresh with No Mistakes in It. And this is the Idlewild wrap. Idlewild was a place in Avonlea near Green Gables that Anne called Idlewild with her wonderful imagination. And so this has a, let's see at the bottom, it's hard because it's not blocked out yet, but it has a little strawberry lace stitch at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see. This yarn is quite busy, so I wanted a little bit of lace detailing at the bottom, but then I kept the rest of it quite simple with a modified seed stitch. So you can see every little bit there's a purl stitch in the stockinette just to give it some little bit of detail. The purple stitch, I loved using this stitch actually. It has 4 rows of double eyelets, and then 1 at the top, and it looks like a lupin flower. And then the green, I did a quatrefoil little eyelet stitch. And then this like dark teal color, I found a chart for, it's very hard to see, but I found this chart online for a like butterfly stitch pattern, and the chart was all in like an Eastern European, like Ukrainian language, but charts are very universal. And so I Googled, so I had the chart and I had all the symbols, and then I Googled like Eastern European or Ukrainian or Russian knitting chart symbols, and I got a legend with the different symbols and what they mean. I had to translate it into English, but once I got that, I figured this out, and I have been able to, since it's taken me quite a while with this, and even these little stripes are slightly different from this big section, but I finally figured out a repeating, part of like the fun of designing is like figuring out repeating sections. So I finally figured out how to get this to repeat quite nicely, that it's easy to memorize. So yeah, and I'm just doing a little more of a section with another lupin, and then I'm gonna end the same way that I began, with some modified seed stitch and strawberry, and that'll be it. So it is, this is coming out October 1st, this podcast, so this pattern hopefully will also be out on October 1st. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, this is such a fun pattern to knit, especially if you've got like a really funky variegated and you've got some solid, like, or speckled, and you've got some solid colors to go with it. I have just loved knitting this up, especially with this. There's so many colors in it. Even there was one day when I had like almost a little rainbow of colors on my knitting needle, and I had to take a picture because it was just so cute and so fun to see all of the colors that were in here. So yeah, this is super fun pattern to knit. Would also be great if you had like some odds and ends. And this takes 2 skeins. I've just started dipping into my second skein of a main color, and I could only buy my solid colors in full 100 gram skeins, but I split them into 50 gram skeins. So you only need like 50 gram skeins, and there are some minis that come in 50 gram skeins. So You don't need a ton, or you can just buy full skeins and know that you'll have half a skein left over for another project. So that is my latest design. And what else is next? Oh, I have some new yarn to show off. And this will come as, now that I've told you that I love Anne of Green Gables, this will come as no surprise. But I bought this Anne of Green Gables sock club. So this was a collaboration between the Kitchen Sink Shop and Pine and Pearl. So the Kitchen Sink Shop, Garlene, she makes project bags. Actually, this is one of her project bags. I think this is a small drawstring project bag, and I love it. It's super cute. It comfortably fits like 2 full skeins in a small project, or like 1 full skein in a project. So this would be really great for socks, hats, mitts, something small. Obviously, my shawl that I am working on, my Idlewild wrap, is too big to fit in here, but I've just been keeping all of my yarn in here because my wrap has just been living on my couch. So this has just been a great like yarn basket for all of my yarns. But I love this little bag. So this is the medium drawstring project bag with handles and Anne of Green Gables fabric. She's got the beautiful little leather tags with her logo on it. So Garlene makes these beautiful project bags. I actually have another one coming in the mail soon. And this was special for this collaboration, and she made it really hard to choose which project bag to get because she had the most beautiful shade of green that I have ever seen in my life as the contrast fabric, and she called it Green Gables Green. Or this one is House of Dreams Blue, and I went for the House of Dreams Blue because for Christmas, I'm learning French. And for Christmas, a very close friend of mine gave me Anne of Green Gables in French. And the cover is like a light steely gray blue color. So kind of went with this. So that's why I went for the green, or the House of Dreams Blue. But one of the special things about this bag is Garlene found this beautiful fabric that's got a whole bunch of Anne of Green Gables quotes in it. And that's what she lined her bag with. She normally just lines with a plain fabric, but she went for this beautiful fabric full of quotes. And we also got a little blue stitch marker. The other stitch marker that I have on here is one from a different Anne of Green Gables club that I will show in the next podcast. But I want to use it for the project. So this collaboration was this project bag from Garlene. She's also a designer, and she's designing 3 sock patterns, and the sock patterns are a total mystery. So they come out today, October 1st. One comes out November 1st, and one comes out December 1st. And then Pine and Pearl dyed all of the wool for this club. So it's a 3 skein club because there were 3 sock patterns, and they went for 3 of the main characters in Anne of Green Gables. So this green is Anne's color, and I have the, oh my goodness, I'm dropping everything. I don't have a really great setup at the moment, so everything is everywhere. These are the ball bands. Like, look at, she's used the most beautiful Anne of Green Gables print, and she's got both of the logos on there. And so this green color is for Anne. Like, look at, oh, beautiful oranges and greens. Then we have the colorway for Gilbert. It's so like dark and moody and like lots of like foresty colors. And then for Anne's best friend and kindred spirit, we have Diana. It's just a beautiful like pale blue with some pinks in it. So those are the 3 colors, and there will be 3 sock patterns coming out, Anne, Gilbert, and Diana. So the idea is to knit the socks with these yarns, but I just couldn't help myself. I was like, this needs to be a 3 skein fade shawl. So in the order, Anne, Gilbert, Diana, I will be designing a 3 skein fade shawl. The pattern idea has already like come through and downloaded, so I just need to knit it up. But I'm waiting till I finish the Idlewild wrap first because I can only really handle one design at a time. So that is that. I'm also trying out a new set of needles. I have the Mindful collection from Knit Pro that's interchangeable, and I only knit with wooden needles. I started knitting with an interchangeable set that's wooden, but I knit so much that I was whittling down the tips. So then I went on a hunt and I found the Mindful collection. I will show it off sometime. I love it. I love that each of the tips of needles of the different sizes have like a different mindful word on it. But I also have bought some like single fixed needles from Addie, and I have like their textured needles. Actually, the Idlewild wrap is being knit on their textured needles. Like they've got little ridges on them and they just sort of hold the stitches nicely so they're not as slippery. These needles are circular, but then I also have the Rocket squared, and so it's a square needle with those same ridges on it. And they have these new unicorn needles, and I bought a really small pair with a long cord for knitting socks, and I loved it. And so I wanted, my favorite size of needle to design with is a 4mm, which is a US 6. And so I just wanted one with a 40-inch cable instead of a 32-inch, because my 32-inch I'm knitting my sunflower shawl on. So I got the unicorn needles. I love it. They're circular, but they've just got a little bit of texture like a unicorn horn, and they are a dream to knit with. And I say that while only having knit the cuff of a pair of socks on it on Magic Loop, but I'm really excited to try them on a bigger needle and designing a shawl with them. So I'm super excited. I will have like a more in-depth review on them later when I work on my shawl more. So that is my next design. And yeah, I was going to show you some of the things that I love as a knitter. I'm trying not to show like everything all at once because this is just the first podcast. There are so many more podcasts to come, so I'm trying to like stretch things out. So one of the things is my knitting bag. This is from the same friend that gave me my French Anne of Green Gables book. She got me this knitting bag, and I honestly have only just had little project bags. I did make a backpack that I will show off a few years ago to use as like a knitting bag, but most of the time I've just been throwing stuff into a tote bag and taking it with me. But this is a specific bag for knitters. So this big pocket has all the things that you could ever want as a knitter. It's got a clear zippered pouch here. It has all of these spaces that are various sizes for crochet hooks, for your double pointed needles, your needle tips of an interchangeable set, whatever you want can go in here. Then it's also got this like clear little pocket. I've got a couple patterns in here, laminated, size chart, a couple of my needles that I use all the time, a ruler, needle cozy, just a bunch of random things and notions that I might need. It's got a pocket on the side and on both sides actually, perfect for your phone or your keys. And then it also has a big open pocket at the back, perfect for like a little book, whatever else you might want, I don't know. Then it has this flap. It's a zippered closure at the top, but this flap has holes and grommets so that you can put your yarn in here and feed it through the hole. So it works like a little yarn bowl. But it has two pockets here, and it mirrors those two pockets are also on the other side. This is really hard to do as one person holding it up. And then on the edges too, there are, just like on the edges of the bag, there are pockets. These are perfect for my water bottle and tea thermoses. And then pretty much what I have in here, I will go over this another day, but this is my notions binder from Black Pearl Magic. It fits perfectly in these pockets on the side. I made some wool besties this summer. It's like a crocheted yarn carousel. I've got a pencil case, I have a notebook, and this is my design book. I've got a file folder with some patterns. It's also like this bag is big enough that my clipboard can fit in it, and I usually have whatever design I'm working on, I have it on a clipboard. Like I print out the lace stitch patterns that I find online and put them on a clipboard and start writing it out. And then I also have this little organized box of stitch markers and some sewing clips. I've made all these stitch markers just with like little wooden cutouts and seed beads with light bulb safety pins. Got all of this stuff at the dollar store, and so you know, if anybody that I'm knitting with needs a stitch marker, they can have one. So yeah, all of that fits in here, and then I usually put one or two small project bags with the projects I'm working on in here as well, and I take it knitting with me. What else? Oh, my water bottle. This is a Stanley Ice Flow. Got a handle, has a spout, and this is the color of my logo and branding, purple, my favorite color. I took this to a local business and I had them engrave my logo onto it, and yeah. So now my logo is on here forever. So I love that. So that's like my favorite water bottle to take with me. And this is my tea mug. This is from Brewmate, and it's 100% leak proof. So the lid flips open. This is a magnet, so it magnetizes. But when you close it, you can lock the lid and nothing will come out. There's nothing in here right now, but it's my favorite tea mug. And I always travel double fisted with water and a tea when I go to knitting. So that was kind of all that I have to show off today, except I have one last thing. I have been working so hard on a website. All of my patterns are available on Ravelry and Lovecrafts at Avonlea Knits, but I also have a website, avonleaknits.ca, and you can find all of my patterns for sale on there as PDF downloads. But I also have a shop where you can buy apparel and accessories, merch, I don't know what to call it. This is a canvas or a tote bag with my logo on it. It's a little wrinkly. So that, and this is a crew neck, and it says teach, knit, sleep, repeat. I am a teacher, so I'll just put this on for a second. So yeah, I've had so many people say to me, oh, you should put your logo on things. And when I talked to a friend about just like business stuff and how to get stuff going, she was like, oh, you should do this. And I'd seen a whole bunch of videos on Instagram of people doing it, and I didn't realize sort of how simple it was, but also that I didn't want to be having to order like 500 t-shirts or 500 sweatshirts or bags or whatever, and then having to ship them, get the orders and ship them. But this is all print on demand, so it is only made when you order it, which I think is great because I didn't want to add to, I follow some environmental like accounts on Instagram, some vintage shops, and so I see these big warehouses, like I see the behind the scenes when they're sourcing stuff, and I see these big warehouses with dead stock apparel, and it is kind of sickening, so I didn't want that. So with print on demand, it is only made when you order it. So I have this is an extra large. I'm really not at a good angle for you to see any better, but I love it. I've already washed this, so it's super great. And yeah, you can buy that on my website. At the moment, I just have some knitting ones up. I'm trying to do some generic ones, just for like yarn and wool. I will also have some crochet ones and some fiber related ones. My plan is to release only like 2 or 3 graphics a month. So today, October 1st, there are a few sort of like Halloween spooky season graphics on some shirts, some bags, up there, so you can get those now. And yeah, if you have ideas of like yarn, knitting, crochet, spinning, I also spin, I have a spinning wheel here. If you have ideas or things you would like to see put on apparel, please let me know. I've started with t-shirts, hoodies, and crew necks and bags, but if you want like a zippered hoodie, if you have ideas for things you want on shirts, if there's something else that you want to see, just let me know. I'm also still just like figuring things out, so please give me a little bit of grace. And I also have, if you're just a teacher and looking for education related ones, I have a shop just for teachers of different graphics and things. They're in both English and French because I am learning French and I work in a French immersion school. So I thought that I would add some French things in there because I also don't see a lot of French graphics on things, and we are Canada is a bilingual country. So I thought that in my learning of the French language, I would add some French in there. So yeah, that is it for the first episode of the Avonlea Chronicles. I'm hoping to do this kind of every 2 or 3 weeks. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. So if you want to put in the comments like what you're working on, if you have ideas for things to do, I have tons of scraps, so I'm looking for ideas of things to do with little bits of yarn. Yeah, anything, just let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. I hope you're enjoying knitting, crafting, crocheting, whatever you are working on, and we'll see you in a few weeks.